And they do that. And Jacob is distraught when he gets news that his favorite son has been killed. He is deceived. So the old deceiver is outwitted again by his own sons. And the story continues now, not through these sons, but through Joseph. He is sold into slavery. He is taken to Egypt, where he becomes the property of a man by the name of Potiphar. I need to hurry along here. He's such a good servant to Potiphar that Potiphar soon puts him over his whole household, overall. It makes him, in charge. All Potiphar has to do is come in and be with his beautiful wife. Joseph takes care of everything else for him, all of his finances, everything. His wife, though, looks at Potiphar and says, pot, catch that word pot, you old pot-bellied man, I'm going to get this young one. And so she starts laying traps for Joseph. And Joseph tells her, that would be the worst thing I could do. It would be betraying my word to my master. I will not do this. And finally, she gets fed up with this. Potiphar comes in and she concocts a story that Joseph tried to seduce her. And Potiphar is irate. Why would his wife lie? So Joseph is cast into prison. He goes to prison. Let's put him down here in the dungeon. And he's there for a period of 2 years. In the meantime, the Pharaoh over here of Egypt is having some bad dreams. Things are keeping him up at night. While Joseph is in prison, he runs into a couple of dudes. He runs into the wine steward of Pharaoh, who is displeased the Pharaoh. He's been thrown into prison for a time, and he runs into the chief baker. Probably the baker baked something that was bad, and the wine steward recommended the wrong wine to go with the bad baked goods, whatever. But they each have a vision, and Joseph interprets their vision for him. He tells the wine steward, you're going to be let go and return to your place of importance. He tells the baker, you're going to lose your head. And sure enough, both of these things happen. The wine steward is restored to the Pharaoh's court in his position of prominence. And that's when the Pharaoh starts having these bad dreams. And he calls all of his magicians in, all of his readers of tea leaves and blood and guts and things, and they cannot interpret these dreams. The wine steward hears this and he says, oh, Pharaoh, I know a man who can do this. And he tells him about Joseph, who's in prison. Pharaoh summons Joseph, and Joseph interprets his dreams for him. So accurately that the Pharaoh makes Joseph now, who was in command of Potiphar's house, second in command in Egypt. Only the Pharaoh has more power than Joseph does. And he does an excellent job. He tells the Pharaoh, for example, in one of his dreams, what this dream means is there's 7 years of famine coming. So let's prepare for it now. And he made preparations. They started building grain silos and big storage bins for putting produce and things. And so when the years of famine came, no one starved because they had all this storage that Joseph had set aside to ease them along, to help them through the tough times. Well, here's where these guys come into the picture again, because not only is the famine in Egypt, it's also down here, it's in Israel as well, And they hear that there's grain in Egypt. So Jacob, who's still living, sends them to Egypt to get some grain. And of course, who recognizes them but Joseph? In the meantime, Jacob has had another son, and his name is Benjamin. And his name means son of sorrow, because at birth, Rachel dies. But this is now the focus of all of his attention. Since Joseph is out of the picture, he's now focused on Benjamin. And the brothers get over here, these 10 guys, they get over here to Egypt. They buy some grain. Joseph has disguised himself. They do not recognize who he is, and he learns all about their history. He learns about this little guy right here. And he sets a trap. He puts some articles in their sacks that belong to the Pharaoh, and as they leave, guards go out and stop their little caravan, search their bags, and find these missing articles there, now facing a death sentence. And Joseph says, I'm going to let you go, but you've got to bring back this guy right here. And so they bring back Benjamin. And then later they're going to bring Jacob. And the whole family is going to be there. The way the story goes, though, is Joseph eventually dies. He goes the way of all men. And there rose a Pharaoh who did not know about Joseph. They were not great readers of history in these days. So another Pharaoh comes onto the throne of Egypt. He doesn't know about Joseph and all the valuable things he's done for Egypt. All he does is look out and see these Hebrews, and that's what they're called. The actual rendering of that word is here, Habiru, meaning nomad or wanderer. Sees all these guys living in what's called the land of Goshen, a portion of Egypt that has been set aside for them. And he sees that they're flourishing, that their flocks are bigger than his flocks, that their numbers are greater than his numbers. And he gets rather fearful. He says, you know, got to do something about these people. They're going to soon outnumber me, and I'll be serving them. They won't be serving me. So he makes them slaves, and they're going to be in slavery for a period of 400 years. And things are pretty brutal for them. Probably during this time, a lot of the great pyramids and some of the great edifices of Egypt were built because of the Hebrews who were in slavery. But 400 years pass by, and another guy is going to enter the scene that's going to bring cohesion to all this, and his name is Moses. It's during this time that the Pharaoh decides that the Hebrews are becoming too numerous. He's going to put some to death. So all male children born are to be killed. Moses' mother Jochebed gives delivery to Moses, and because she doesn't want to see him killed, she puts him in a little basket and floats him down the river. It's a strategic floating because he floats right in front of the Pharaoh's daughter, who happens to be bathing at the time, and she falls in love with this little kid, his wrinkly face and all, and adopts him for her own. So Moses becomes a member of the Pharaoh's court. And oddly enough, his own mother Jochebed gets to be his wet nurse. So he knows his heritage, even though he's a member of the Pharaoh's court. And as he comes into adulthood, he sees how the Hebrew are being treated, how the taskmasters of Egypt are abusing them, and he actually kills an Egyptian taskmaster. And knowing the deed is wrong, he buries him, thinking he's gotten away with it. Later on, he sees a couple of Hebrews arguing among themselves, and he tries to intervene, and they say, what are you going to do, kill us like you did the taskmaster? Immediately he's fearful, and he flees for his life. He leaves Egypt. If you've ever seen the story of the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, that's taking a lot of license with the Scripture. I doubt that the Pharaoh brought him in chains and exiled him. Scripture tells us that Moses exiled himself. And he's going to be in exile for a period of 4 years. He goes off into what is, well, let's see if I can illustrate here. Here's the Mediterranean Sea. Here's Egypt over here. Here's the Nile River. He's in this area right here, just outside the borders of Egypt, and he becomes a shepherd for. Tell me his name. Oh, how did I forget his name? It'll come to me in a minute. He becomes a shepherd for one of these Midianite people here, who are a product of Ishmael, by the way. And he's going to do that for a period of some 40 years. He's a dispirited man. All of his ambitions in life are gone. One day he is herding the sheep though, and he sees a strange sight. Over on the mountainside is a burning bush that is burning but is not consumed with a flame, and he's going to go check that out. And he does, and he learns he's in the presence of Yahweh. He says, Moses, I've been preparing you all this time to go back to Egypt and set my people free. I've heard their cries of distress, and the time has come to set them free. So Moses goes back, gives the message to Pharaoh. Yahweh says, let my people go. Of course, Pharaoh says, who is Yahweh that I should do such a stupid thing and let all my free labor go? And there's a series of 10 plagues that happen in Egypt, horrendous plagues, starting off mild and getting worse as time goes on. The last plague is called the destroying angel plague. In which the firstborn of every household is going to die. Unless, and the unless, the Jewish people have a thing they call the Passover. And it happens once a year in their celebration. The word Passover simply means the death angel or the destroying angel passed over my house. And why did they pass over? Because they had put on the lintel of their door the blood of the Passover lamb. And that was the sign that this is a Hebrew home, leave it alone. But everyone else in Egypt lost their firstborn. And the wail is so great that the Pharaoh calls Moses in and says, get thee out of here. You're not good for me. And while you're at it, take all these Hebrews with you. And some 2 million make this little trek now, and they go back from Egypt out into this area right here, and they come to a mountain called Sinai where God gives them His law. Finally, a Jewish nation is started. We ought to correctly call it a Hebrew nation is started. They get the law, and they're told that there's a land of promise. They send out some spies to this land of promise, and they come back and say, you know, it's just like God said it was. It's a fertile land. It's a rich land. It's everything a farmer could dream of, except it's got giants, and we're like grasshoppers in their eyes. Well, 10 of these spies, there's 12 of them sent out, 10 of these spies come back with a negative report. 2 spies by the name of Caleb and, Joshua. I don't know why I'm forgetting these names. Caleb and Joshua come back and say, we ought to do what God said. Let's go take the land. He's with us. We can do it. But the people take a vote, and by popular opinion, they decide no. So they're going to wander for 40 years. And during this 40-year wandering, the law is being cemented into their hearts. The abstainers or the negative thinking people are going to die off, and a whole new generation of Hebrews are going to come on the scene. And at the end of that 40 years, they finally go back into the land. Moses is not with them. He dies. Joshua leads them. And they now have a homeland called Israel. And that's going to last until about 70 AD, when the Romans finally come through. While they're here, they're not going to be good. They're going to be sent off into the bondage or captivity into Babylon for 70 years. But they're allowed to come back at the end of 70 years. And then in 70 AD, they finally are dispersed forever, never to return until 1948, when the Jewish nation began once again. So that's the story of Judaism. And it's time to dismiss.
Didn't the Pharaoh's family know that